Hello music fans, welcome to an episode of What's New 2023, where I'm going to talk about 4 new albums that came out over the past week in the metal, rock, and prog worlds. And I'll talk about them in my order of preference and just give my first impressions of them. Keep in mind I've only listened to each of these albums once, so my opinions may not be fully formed. It's just my first gut instinct on the albums. And I'm going to start with Periphery and their album Periphery 5, Djent is Not a Genre. This is progressive metalcore of the Djent variety, but they themselves say that Djent is not a genre, and I kind of agree. It's not really a genre, it's more of like a sound of like a palm muted, low 7 or 8 string guitar chug, Djent, Djent, Djent. While it's not really a genre, it is a sound that is used very commonly in progressive metalcore these days, and Periphery is one of the bands that popularized the sound. This is their 7th album, if you count Juggernaut Alpha and Omega as 2 albums, which I do. My first impression of this is it's kind of my least favorite of the Periphery albums. That's my gut instinct anyways, but it's still a really good album, as is everything they put out. Everything they put out is great. On this album they do some more orchestral, electronic, and jazzy breaks, which they've been doing a little bit in their previous albums as well, but it's definitely prominent here. And then the typical djenty metalcore intensity that you would expect if you know Periphery, some breakdowns as well, and the odd poppy moment too. Really great vocals here, but you have to be accepting of that emo style and then the occasional pop clean vocal style, as well as really harsh screams. So I feel like a lot of the emo and pop fans and listeners won't like the vocals because there will be too much screaming and too much extreme stuff for them, and then a lot of the extreme metal purists won't like them because they might like the screaming vocals, but they don't like the clean singing. So it's a little bit hard for this band to win on the vocal front, but I like both styles. And there's also great guitar riffing and solos, excellent drumming, cool compositions. My favorite track on here would be Zagreus. Next, I want to mention Gorod with their album The Orb. This is technical death metal with progressive influences. It's the 7th album by this French band, and I heard an early single from it called We Are the Sun Gods, and that got my attention. Really great technical guitar playing and intense brutality and harsh vocals. Then I listened to another song on there, the title track The Orb. That's my favorite track on the album at the moment. It has a nice, refreshing, clean vocal moment to start before it gets into more of the intensity. The whole album's great as well. Blistering and technical guitar parts, extreme vocals, almost all harsh screaming, but there is that odd moment with some clean singing for contrast. Check this out if you're a fan of bands like The Faceless, Obscura, Obsidious, or Archspire, or other similar tech death bands that have prog influences. Next I want to mention Frozen Crown and their release Call of the North. This is power metal with some heavy metal influences. It's the 4th album from this Italian female-fronted power metal band. The vocals here are really powerful and masterfully executed. The guitar playing well executed with great riffing and solos as well. And it's just great to see a female guitarist as well as a female singer in a metal band, as I find they do tend to be underrepresented. It's even more rare to see a female guitarist than a female singer in metal, I think. So great to see that, and she plays really well. I didn't write down their names, so I don't remember the names of the vocalist and guitar player. The vocal melodies on the album are catchy, but of course you have to be ready for some power metal cheesiness, and of course that one drum beat that so many power metal bands like Dragon Force use a lot. That gets used here a lot more than I would normally like. But this is still among the best power metal albums I've heard this decade so far. Probably in the top 3 at the moment, after Sacred Oath's Return of the Dragon and Twilight Force's At the Heart of Wintervale. Check this out if you're a fan of Dragon Force, Hammerfall, Sacred Oath, or Twilight Force, or similar power metal bands. and if you want to hear what that sounds like with female vocals. Also, if you're just a fan of female-fronted metal bands like Nightwish or an Unleash the Archers. Oh, actually, the release from earlier this year by Xandria called "The Wonders Still Awaiting" is kind of female-fronted symphonic power metal. It's similar to this, so I think fans of this would like that, and vice versa. Check out the title track "Call of the North" to get a feel for this album. Lastly, I'm going to mention Suicide Silence and their album Remember You Must Die. This is Deathcore. It's the 7th album by this American band. I checked it out because they're a big name in deathcore. Even though I'm not always the biggest deathcore fan, I do like the odd deathcore album here and there. This album's pretty good. It has some songs with more death metal influences and some with more hardcore influence, and just some of the most brutal breakdowns you'll hear. Not really the style that I'm going to seek out or return to very often, so it's unlikely to make my top 40 or 50 albums of the year, but for people who like that style, I could see them liking this as well. And that's it for albums that I checked out this past week. Let me know if there's anything else in the metal, rock, and prog worlds that you think I would enjoy, and stay tuned for next time. Peace out.